Stranger Things Season 5 is right around the corner, and today I was thinking about giving my death predictions for this season of Stranger Things. Now, the Duffer Brothers have confirmed that this season is going to be a bloodbath, right? They've been teasing it a lot of times, and they did tease it in Season 4 quite a bit, but I think that this is the season that they're going to kill off some characters. So I'm just going to be talking about who is going to die in Stranger Things Season 5, and in what volume do I think they're going to die, and in what circumstances. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I know that this is a new topic for this channel, right? I've never talked about Stranger Things before, so please like the video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. And like how I mentioned before, this season is going to be the most brutal season of the show, and the kill count for the main characters is going to be quite high. But I first want to start off with the characters that are most likely to die in this season, right? And most likely they're going to die in the first volume of Stranger Things Season 5, and those characters are Ted Wheeler and Karen Wheeler. And now we've seen a couple of scenes in the trailer where Karen is holding Holly in a bathtub and they're hiding from a Demogorgon, and Ted is nowhere to be seen. So it's very likely that maybe Ted was still on his couch or something like that. A Demogorgon breaks in, he kills Ted, and then Karen hears the commotion and she hides in the bathtub. And probably it's very likely that by that time they already know what's going on, right? Because we have Nancy and Mike and all these other characters that are related to these parents, and most likely with the finale of Season 4 happening the way it did, with Vecna finally unlocking the path to the real world, it's likely that Karen and Ted know what's going on. Maybe not Ted all that much, right? Maybe he won't believe it, but it's very likely that Karen will believe it. And also we do see in the trailers that Nancy is washing blood off her hands in the hospital, so it's likely that either Karen is injured by the Demogorgon, then we see Nancy and probably Elle come on time, take out the Demogorgon. They see that Ted is already dead, but Karen is very injured with Holly. They take her to the hospital, and that's where we see Nancy giving her whole speech, and she's just out for blood for Vecna. But I think that these deaths are going to be some sort of character development for Nancy. I mean, of course, it's her parents, and we might see Nancy actually charging the war against Vecna, which I think is very well possible. I think Nancy is going to be the leader of the group when it comes to, you know, charging against Vecna and coming up with the whole plan, right? Because in Season 4 we did see that she took the initiative, right? And she was basically the one that was taking all the information and stuff like that, and she's the one that went into the Upside Down to save Steve. So I totally see this being the driving point for Nancy, and potentially this could foreshadow her death, because she doesn't really have much to lose, right? She lost both of her parents, and all she has is Mike and Holly. So probably to protect Mike and Holly, we might see Nancy dying at the end of the volume, which I am going to get into later. And now the next character I want to talk about is Lucas. And now in the trailers for Stranger Things Season 5, we do know that they did not take anything from the final 2 episodes. So everything we've been seeing in the trailers is from Volume 1, and we see that Lucas is in very tight spaces. For example, while Max is still in a coma at the hospital, Lucas is carrying her and he's being chased by some demo dogs. And then we later see a scene where Lucas is underground, I think, and 2 Demogorgons corner him. So it could be a throw off, right? 110% this could be a throw off, right? Because they're showing it so much. So this could be a fake out, right? You know, we could all be theorizing that Lucas is going to die. And this reminds me of Max's death in Season 4, where everyone thought that Max was going to die, because we've seen in all of the trailers that Max was seeing the clocks and stuff like that, and she was floating up in the air. So everyone's like, yeah, Max is 100% dead, but that was a fake out, obviously. So it could be the same case with Lucas, but I totally see that with Lucas being the way that he is, right? You know, him caring about Max and stuff like that, and him basically going solo from what I could see, right? You know, no one else is in the hospital with him, nor anyone else is underground with him. It's possible that Lucas could die at the hands of the Demogorgons, and we later on see a scene where Dustin is crying and he's holding Steve, right? Both of them are crying in that moment, and it seems like it is shortly after that moment where Lucas is cornered by the two Demogorgons. So I personally think that Lucas could be another character that dies in Volume 1. Potentially, this could be the finale of Volume 1, right? Lucas could be that character that dies at the very end of the volume just as a shock factor, right? You know, it could show that the Duffer Brothers aren't pulling their punches for this season if they kill off one of the main kid characters in this show. And now the next character I want to talk about is Nancy, right? And Nancy, like how I mentioned before, she will very likely lose both of her parents, and there are some behind the scenes stuff for this season, right? And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll just give you guys a moment to click off this video if you guys want to, but I'm going to be talking about it in a couple of seconds. And there were some videos that did come up online, and it's been a few months now. Everyone thought it was fake, and I'm just going to give you guys a final chance to leave the video, right, if you guys don't want to be spoiled. But we see that a bunch of characters are screaming, right? And we see that Dustin yells Steve, and I think Mike and Lucas, they yell Nancy's name, right? And Nancy yells go. So yeah, I totally see that scene being Nancy's death, right? Where we see that Steve is about to sacrifice himself, right? And then Nancy pushes everyone aside. Possibly they're in the upside down at that moment, and the gates is about to close or something like that, or Vecna has a hold of one of them. They all escape where Nancy dies, and I totally see Nancy dying, right? Because they've teased it in season 4 as well, where Vecna did give Nancy those visions of Hawkins being destroyed and a bunch of people dying. So Vecna already has that connection to Nancy, so anytime he basically wants to, he could literally float her up and kill her right there on the spot. And I think that that is also another volume 1 finale death, right? Yet again, my whole point coming towards that shock factor, right? You need to have that shock factor. You need to know that they're not pulling their punches for this season. They're going to kill characters, and I think that the main characters, right, the characters that everyone is rooting for, if they die, then it's going to be a very crazy season and a very crazy moment. And I think Nancy is one of those characters, right? I mean, if she dies right in front of Steve and Jonathan, just imagine what those characters and what their arcs would be in this season. And also it would leave Mike all alone with Holly, and Mike being another possible death. It is very messed up that we could see the whole Wheeler family being wiped out in this season. And also with Vecna being the type of villain that he is, right? It seems like that he just wants to prove a point, right? And what better way to prove his point if he kills the leader of the group, right? Because it is very obvious that Nancy is the one that's going to be leading the charge, right? And Nancy, she has all those guns and she has all those grenades, and she is the one that's after Vecna the most, probably because she sees that, you know, he killed her dad, right? The Demogorgons killed Ted. So it is very likely that we could see that Vecna wants to prove a point in front of the group that, yeah, you know, this is the person that's leading you, right? I'll take her out right away. And that would scar the characters so badly that, you know, it would seem like all hope is lost. And now the next character I want to talk about is Murray. Now, Murray survived longer than I thought he would, right? He was introduced in season 2 of Stranger Things, and I actually thought he was going to die in season 2. Then when season 3 rolled around with Alexei and all of that, I thought Murray was going to die with Alexei. Then when season 4 rolled around, when they went to Russia, I thought that that was another possible death for Murray as well. But he survived this long, surprisingly. And for being a side character, being a comedic character, it is very, very surprising that, you know, he made it till the final season of Stranger Things. But I think that this is going to be the season where he dies. And a big proof of that is that I believe Murray is driving an RV with Robin in one of the teasers, and a Demogorgon jumps on top of the RV. Now, again, with Stranger Things being the show that it is, right? You know, them basically not really showing very serious moments all that much, right? It is a very serious show, but the demographic that they're targeting, right, they won't give those sort of messed up type of moments. But what if a Demogorgon just pulls his hand right through the RV and takes Murray out right away, right? It'd be like a shock factor death, right? He would either just throw Murray out of the RV or just like kill him right there on the spot, and the RV is swerving and all of that right in front of Robin's face. I think that Murray in this season is not safe at all, and if there is a character I would give a very high likelihood to die with Ted and Karen Wheeler, it would be Murray as well. And also that would affect Joyce and Hopper in a very big way, and also it would give a darker tone to the show that if you kill off a very comedic character like Murray. And now the next character I want to talk about is Steve, and now this is a very, very big one, right? Because Steve is the most loved character of Stranger Things, and a lot of people are hoping that he doesn't die, but there is a lot of evidence that Steve could potentially die in this season. And yet again, just going off of trailers and behind the scenes stuff, right? It's just a lot of proof to go by. First of all, I want to talk about Steve's whole arc in the show, right? He has a redemption arc. He's more or less the Negan of Stranger Things, right? Where he was a bad guy before, right? And then he became such a good person later on, and he's basically ready to sacrifice himself at any moment. And especially for Nancy, I think that Steve would sacrifice himself right away, and also for Dustin as well. So there are some scenes in the trailer that could allude to Steve's death. First of all, I want to talk about, there is one little shot of the trailer where Steve is laying on the ground and then he's being pulled back by something. Now that is not Steve's death, but it is a very low likely chance that that could be Steve's death, but I just want to throw that in there. And also there are some behind the scenes stuff that is proven real now, and yet again, if you guys don't want spoilers, you guys could click off right away. But if you guys made it this far, most likely you guys heard about the behind the scenes stuff that I talked about before. And there is some audio leaks of Stranger Things season 5 that are proven real. And now I believe last December there was a behind the scenes leak of Will screaming, right? Which we did see in the trailer, right? He's screaming run. But there is an extension of that was leaked online, and Will is screaming, Steve, you need to run. And then he screams even more, run, and which we do see in the trailer, but we don't hear him saying Steve in the trailer. But behind the scenes, he's yelling, Steve, you need to run. And it's very likely that during that scene in the trailer where Vecna is holding up Will to him, Steve possibly attacks Vecna at that moment, right? He probably spears Vecna, or he gets some sort of bat and he hits Vecna, and then Vecna looks back, and that's where we see Will yelling, Steve, run. And that's where we possibly see Steve dying, right, at the hands of Vecna. And also we do hear in the back that the director is saying, grab him by the throat. So my theory here is that he's saying that to Vecna, right? He's saying that to the actor of Vecna to grab Steve by the throat. And it's very well possible that we could see Vecna snapping Steve's neck and killing him right in front of Will, right? And of course, very, very dark moment, right? Steve is the most beloved character of this show. So I think that is a volume 1 finale death, right? I don't want to see Steve dying at all, right? I know that the comments are going to be rolling in that we don't want to see Steve dying. Believe me, I don't want to see Steve dying as well. But the evidence is right there, right? And I hope that it's not a volume 1 death. If Steve does get a death, I hope that's like the very last episode of the season, right? Like the one that's gonna be coming out at New Year, right? The 3-hour long one. I think that's where you kill off Steve. But it's likely that Steve might die at the end of volume 1 as a shock factor, right? And it could be like the lineup from The Walking Dead, where the final shot is Vecna holding Steve up, and all you just hear is Will yelling run, him screaming that, and then you just hear the grandfather clock going off, right? Now Vecna's signature sound, and then it just turns from black there, and we don't know if Steve dies or if Steve is able to escape from that situation. But we also do see 11 in those shots, right, where Will is in the military base. Maybe every military base or whatever looks the same in this show, but it's very well possible that it's the same military base, and possibly 11 comes from behind and she takes out Vecna from there, buying them some time to run. But yet again, if you guys hear that audio, it is very messed up, right? We hear a lot of screaming in there, and I think that Steve is going to die in that moment, and it would be a very great way to end off that volume and to get everyone at the edge of their seats and just to have everyone shocked. And now there is a theory I was hearing everywhere online, and I don't know why do I believe this, but in the back of my head I kind of do believe it, and that is Dustin being the only one to walk out alive. And yeah, like I don't see Dustin dying in this season. If there's anybody that is very, very safe in this season, I think it's Dustin, right? And like, you know, I don't want to bring up any correlations with video games, right? But recently in Fortnite, they did release a skin of all of the kid characters in Stranger Things, right? We have Lucas, Mike, Will, and Dustin. And for Dustin's character model, we see him having Eddie's watch at one wrist, which we do know that he did take Eddie's watch as like a reminder and stuff like that. And at his other wrist, I think he has Eleven's bracelet, right? And the whole theory sparked up from there that it's very well possible that because Mike doesn't have that band on him, right? And why would Dustin, out of all people, have it? People are bringing up the correlation that Dustin could be the one that survives and everyone else is just wiped out from there. And I personally really want Stranger Things to end off in that sort of note, right? And I'm not saying that I want a bad ending, but I want there to be stakes, right? I want main characters to die, and that was my main complaint about the Walking Dead season finale, that not that many major characters died because, of course, of the spin-offs, but it seems like that Stranger Things is not going to have any sort of spin-off later on, so they are safe to kill off whoever they want. And I think that Dustin being the one that comes out alive, and him actually being the one to like tell the story of Stranger Things. What if the epilogue of Stranger Things season 5 is just Dustin grown up, right? Him having a family and whatever, and possibly he wrote a book about the events of Stranger Things, and that's where it ends off from there. And the last character I want to talk about is my favorite character in the show, and that is Hopper, right? And we've seen in season 3 that Hopper had a fake out death, and the whole premise of season 4 for Joyce and Murray was to bring Hopper back to America from Russia. But, you know, everyone may be thinking that Hopper is very safe in this season because they already did a fake out death and then he didn't die, now he's back. So what's the point of killing him off? But yet again, you guys have to think that it's the final season of the show, right? They could kill off whoever they want, and Hopper being that sort of character that makes sense to die in the final season, I think that Hopper will end up sacrificing himself for 11 or Joyce in the very last episode, and maybe he's the one that puts the final axe in Vecna, or he tries to kill Vecna and Vecna just takes him out from there. I don't know, but also he could die from a Demogorgon, right? Because in season 4 we do see Hopper killing a Demogorgon, so it would be kind of full circle to see a Demogorgon killing Hopper. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. And also comment down who do you guys think is going to die in Stranger Things season 5. And just keep in mind that there are 2 more parts after this volume 1, right? Volume 1 is going to be coming out on the 26th, and volume 2 is going to be coming out on Christmas, and volume 3, the very last episode, is going to be coming out at New Year's. So there is a lot of room for more theories and speculation, right? And it's very likely that, you know, characters that I've mentioned in this video might die in the next 2 volumes of this season. So just comment down your guys' thoughts. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.